Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio here at Itron Utility Week. We're post-lunch, so it's nice and quiet, so we can have a good chat. I'm joined now by Jason Anderson, who's the president and CEO of Cleantech San Diego. And Jason, first off, welcome. Thanks for making the time to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here, especially post-launch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, that's a different conversation. We won't do that on air. Jason, tell us a little bit about Cleantech San Diego. Give us a little bit of background, and then we can go into, the guts of what you guys do and the outcomes that you deliver.
Sure. So, again, thanks for having me here. Cleantech San Diego is a trade association, nonprofit membership-based trade association that was launched 10 years ago. To really help the San Diego region catalyze on the economic and environmental opportunities that were going to be realized because of some of the regulations that were coming down from the state of California. So business leaders, the mayor at the time, really saw that as the state of California moved forward with a pretty aggressive climate agenda, the private sector and the business community was going to be developing technologies and solutions to help the state meet its goals, and specifically goals around renewable energy generation, battery storage, et cetera. So we wanted to really realize and advance the adoption and development of sustainable business practices, renewable energy, and clean technology for the greater San Diego region.
So this is a little bit of smart cities before smart cities started happening.
It is, yeah. When the organization first started, as you can imagine, especially in California, very focused on solar and really making sure that the California marketplace created a level of certainty in the market for solar generators, solar producers. And we spent a lot of time in the early years really advocating on behalf of the solar industry on a number of different things. Slowly as the organization progressed, as the industry progressed, we focused on wind generation, local wind generation for our region, the production of algae-based biofuels in our region, which had a very strong military play. San Diego just happens to have the largest concentration of military personnel in the world, so it's a significant part of our community. And then about 6 years ago, we really started thinking about smart cities and what that meant. And honestly, I think at the time we didn't even know what that meant. The San Diego region was named one of the EV cities by the Department of Energy, electric vehicle cities by the Department of Energy, and we knew that in order for us to get the amount of charging infrastructure on the ground in our region, it was going to really take all hands on deck. So Cleantech San Diego, because we had already been around and were established, launched the Smart City San Diego Collaborative. And really at the time, we just were focused on electric vehicle infrastructure. So our partners at the time developed the first of their kind solar to EV storage projects, charging projects, and we really tried to help the region build out the infrastructure to support the number of electric vehicles that we expected to be coming to San Diego, and that number continues to grow.
I mean, it's interesting for me because you aren't the first person who's been on the stage where you are a not-for-profit organization. It seems like that seems to be the way to go to get all these collaborations happening and accelerating them. I mean, what is the sort of groundwork based on your experience that needs to be put in to create those effective collaborations? Because putting in an EV network that's no small task.
Right. And I think what's important is that whether you're talking about smart cities or whether you're talking about renewable energy generation or whether you're talking about the development or deployment of clean technology, it's taking a lot of partners are needed at the table to make things like success, right? So it's not just one, the city can't just lead and make everything work. They need the public sector behind, they need the private sector behind them, they need the academic community behind them, they need the utility at the table with them. And so it's really those collaborations I think are important and really critical to the implementation and the deployment of actual projects. And so an organization like Cleantech San Diego, and I know there's another, similar organizations to ours at this conference, I think what we really provide is that kind of neutral space to have these conversations in. It's outside of City Hall, it's outside of the utility, it's outside of these other government bureaucracies. It's just really a safe space to bring different partners together to really talk about what their needs are, what types of solutions they're trying to identify to help them meet those needs, who they're actually trying to serve, and then the technology and the private sector comes to the table with solutions that they have today and maybe what they're working on. So I think these types of conversations are important, especially because it's not, these public-private plus partnerships, I think are important not only in this space, but really a lot of different types of development projects. And so I think organizations like ours really help bring those different parties together in what I like to call a safe space, where we can really just sit down, have open dialogues and open conversations without any sort of governing rules in the room about how we need to be behaving or what we can say.
So if let's say a city watching this is going, oh, yeah, I get it. We need to give people that safe space. I mean, what are the other things that you feel, based on your experience, that need to be put into the framework? I mean, what sort of teeth does an organization like yours need? Because I would imagine every once in a while you need to be able to just drag people along.
Yeah.
Right?
I think strong leadership is important. Right. And when Cleantech San Diego was formed 10 years ago, that strong leader was really the mayor of San Diego, who really called for this organization to be formed. And again, brought the business community and the academic partners along with him, but really kind of set the stage for that strong leadership for our region, and really kind of went above and beyond to not only create the organization, but really saw the vision for what this industry could mean, again, for our local economy and our local environment. I think a trusted partner is also important. That comes obviously with years of being around, so we are a credible source. So I think from maybe just launching, to go to your question, just kind of launching, I think it's really important to have someone stand up and take ownership and take the initiative to create the organization and bring the right people to the table, and hope that continues to last and you continue to have that leadership and again that ability to bring different parties together.
And on that note of bringing different parties together, I know when we were talking off air and preparing for this interview, how in your mind or based on your experiences have you seen sort of shifting attitudes from each constituency? How has the utility, I know it's quite a forward-looking utility, but how have they maybe shifted their attitude? Just to give people an example of, the types of shifts that we need to put in place in order to get these ecosystems working.
I think probably one of the biggest shifts I've seen is that people just are letting their guard down. So people are coming into a room knowing that they may not have all the answers, they may not have the solutions, but together, if everyone puts it out on the table, I think they can, they've come to some of those decisions, right? And they've come to kind of what some of those solutions should look like. So I think that's a big part of it is, check the egos at the door, understand walking into these types of collaborations, these types of facilitations, that you don't know everything, you don't have all the solutions, but you're really trying to work collaboratively to figure it out. And I think that's really important. I also think what we've seen from the private sector is that, leave the sales pitch at the door as well. Come in and really try to understand what the need is. You obviously have a suite of services and technologies that you can deploy, but leave those at the door for the first, at least part of it, so that just a conversation can be open and no one's trying to sell anything to anyone. Everyone's just trying to make it work. And I think, again, that's what we ask as an organization in our meetings, is just let's leave it outside, really have a real conversation about where we're trying to go and how we can get there. And then let some of these other conversations happen organically.
And sort of identify the value and then anchor all the stuff around that. So on that, as we're coming to the end of our interview time here, can you share some of the real results? Because it is one of those things that, especially in this area where you're trying to mobilize an entire city, not to do something, not an insignificant task. Are you able to share that? Hey, we achieved this. This KPI was achieved, so that other people maybe learn a little bit from the ground you've broken.
Well, I'll say I think most of our achievements in our region have not been done at the city level. They've been done by other organizations within the city, the airport, the Port of San Diego, Petco Park, which is our baseball stadium. Those are where we've seen most of the success to date. And it probably should be, it's no surprise why. They're outside of City Hall, they're outside of that bureaucracy. So at Petco Park, Qualcomm, OSI Soft, a company called SenseOps, went into the facility, put sensors in all the concessionaires so that they could really start to understand on a granular perspective energy and water consumption and how people within the stadium were using energy and water. The stadium had never had that granularity of data before, and so now they can take that data and do things with it, and they have overall energy and water reduction goals as a result of that, but it's giving them tangible tools and tangible facts that they can use to plan ahead for, or plan, to react to. And they've been able to save a significant amount of energy and water because of that, because they understand how that consumption looks on a day-to-day basis, on an hour-to-hour basis.
Huge business benefit, right?
Huge, yeah, huge. We, in fact, you bring up a good point. We at Cleantech San Diego really always like to look at both the environmental and the economic benefit of any of these types of deployments. And I think that's important, and I think that gives value to them, especially from policymakers, elected officials that are looking at implementing these solutions. It can't just be an economic win. There needs to be an environmental win. It can't just be an environmental win. There also needs to be some economic win as well. So that's one success in San Diego to date. Another project that's just launching that I know will be successful is with the city of San Diego and current by GE, AT&T, and Intel. They're retrofitting about 14,000 streetlights in San Diego to LEDs, putting adaptive controls on those streetlights, but also installing sensors as well to start to get more data so that they can develop applications and solutions to provide services to their citizens. So about 3,400 sensors will be installed throughout San Diego. We're hosting hackathons and other events right now to make that data publicly available so that developers can create applications and solutions.
So you're creating a data platform that
exactly.
people can...
In fact, the city of San Diego on their website has an open data portal where they push that data out. And what we're trying to do is bring that technology community in to help the city maybe not even know what problems they're trying to solve, but provide them with applications to solve some problems. So, able to do things like parking optimization, able to, really see where crowds are moving around downtown San Diego. As a tourist city, we get a lot of people in the downtown area. So, how do you manage crowds and traffic from that perspective? And the city's really trying to build a platform to allow those types of activities to happen.
And just a final question to you, again, on that sort of collaboration and collaborative piece. I mean, how important do you think it is for a modern city to really start moving in that direction? Because again, it's whatever you call it, digital city, smart city, whatever, it's just words.
Right.
But the outcome seems to be that actually those metropolitan areas need to grasp their own destiny,
right,
and start becoming data centric.
Right.
That's the fundamental switch. So how do you think it's vital now in the world we live in that cities start behaving like that?
I do, and I think it's vital for a number of different reasons. From my perspective, from Cleantech San Diego's perspective, it's letting them be aware or own their energy future, their energy, being able to generate energy and understand how energy is being generated and manage that energy generation production. So I think there's an energy component to it. I also think from workforce talent attraction perspective, there's people want to live in cities where these kind of cool technologies are being deployed throughout the region and providing services to the region. So I think there's a workforce component of it as well, and I think it's about attracting new companies and that economic development piece. I think that's important. So I think I think cities need to do it from a competitive advantage, from an economic development perspective. But I think what we're learning through deployments around the country and around the world is that there's an economic advantage as well and an environmental advantage. So I don't think it's kind of one size fits all, or you can just put it into one bucket. I think there's a number of different case points for why the deployment of these types of technologies and solutions actually makes sense for cities. For the citizens that live there, for businesses that are already there that want to locate there, for the workforce that's attracted to those regions. I think it's what I think is exciting is that everyone has a little bit of piece of it, right? And so everyone has an opportunity to take what's happening right now and kind of make it what they want it to be.
And do you think that, I know I said it was my last question, this really will be my last question. Yeah.
All right.
Do you think that the energy piece is a bit like a killer app to galvanize everything that's going on, or
I would like to think so.
Or is that the wrong word?
But I think it depends on where you are. Someone asked earlier kind of how do you define smart cities, and we all have our own definition, right? We have our own definition of what that means. But I think from my perspective, what's driving so much of this is, cities, communities, citizens, especially in California, are really starting to be, to really think about where their energy comes from. Is it renewable? Right now in San Diego, for instance, we get 43% of our energy from renewable energy sources. That's pretty significant. The state of California has significant goals. Cities around our region are passing 100% renewable energy goals. So it's on the top of mind of San Diegans. I wish that was on the top of the minds of the rest of the country.
That's a whole different.
That's a whole different conversation. But it's getting people to think about kind of what is our energy destiny? How does smart cities play into that? How does data and analytics play into that? So for us, it kind of started the conversation, but it's definitely not concluding the conversation.
Right. On that note, Jason, we will leave it because I am now getting ever more aggressive signals from my colleagues to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you as well for watching.